Okay, now we did a 30 degree. We can go a lot faster with this, with a 60 degree. Because we already established what the short side's equal to and what the long side's equal to, so I don't have to go through that process again. It's like reinventing a wheel, isn't it? Every time you want to use a wheel. You never heard that expression?
No.
Reinvent the wheel? You never heard it?
I've heard that.
Well, it's like you don't have to come up with the, I mean, once somebody's already established that this works, you don't have to come up with it every single time. So like this, we've already established, this is still a 30, 60, 90, except this is a 60 degree angle down here instead of a 30, right? So we've already established what the short side is and what the long side is. So I don't have to go through that work and say the hypotenuse is, whatever. All right, so now, what is this side right here? It's 1/2, because the short side's a half. What's the side right here? It's the square root of 3 over 2. Okay? So I've already established that. Now watch, I've got a point right here, and I can figure out what that ordered pair is. How did you get to it? You went over a half, and you went up the square root of 3 over 2. So, looking at this, now I know what my cosine, my sine, and my tangent is just by knowing what that point is. You're going to have to look at the other lesson because we just finished teaching that. So tonight, I can't go through it because we've already discussed it. All right? So, all right. No more. All right, so here we go. Now, you can tell what the cosine of 60 is. So if I ask you what the cosine of 60 is, what do? You vision, right? You take, in your mind, you're thinking of this unit circle. You're thinking of the steep angle. 60 degrees is that steep angle. So the cosine on that steep angle, right? Visualize your angle going like this. And you say, okay, the cosine is the one down here on the x-axis. What's it going to be now? That's your short side now, isn't it? You see that? You want to be able to do this in your head, and this is stuff that you can practice on your own. All right? Maybe have a unit circle written down, but just, excuse me, just finished lunch and I keep on. Exactly. Yeah, they're not real burps, but okay, here we go. So you got to envision this 60 degree angle. Envision the 60 degree. It's a steeper angle, right? So the one along the x-axis is the short side. The one along the y-axis is the long side. What did we just say a few minutes ago in the other video? The short side's always equal to a half, right? And the long side's always equal to
1.
No. Square root of 3 over 2.
square root of 3 over 2. The hypotenuse is 1. The hypotenuse. I'm talking short side, long side, okay? Not the longest side. Exactly right, and that's what we're doing. So the cosine. No, because he remembers those quadrantal. Right? Isn't that why you remember this? Because look, the first one, no, because he was in class and he paid attention. It's not because he's, it's not because he's some superhuman math person. It's because he listened. Shh, settle down. Okay, settle down. It's because he remembers those quadrantal angles. He remembers the first one is the cosine and the second one is the sine. All right? We talked about that the other day. All right? That's all. He's not superhuman. He just sits and listens and pays attention. That's all. All right? So that's all you got to do. So the cosine of 60 is a half, and the sine of 60 is the second one, which is the square root of 3 over 2. All right? Try that on your calculator, see if it works. Let's figure out what the tangent is. All right? Again, these things should be memorized. You need to have these things memorized. Now look, if somebody stopped me and said, what's the sine of 60? I tell you right now, I cannot just throw that answer out right away. I sit and I think about it. I picture this in my mind. What did I say, sine of 60? Yeah. Okay, so if somebody said, what's the sine of 60? Without looking at it, I'm saying, okay, I'm visualizing 60 degrees, that's the steep one. The sine is this one. Oh, that's the longest side. What's the longest side? Square root of 3 over 2. So give me a couple seconds, and then I would say sine of 60 is square root of 3 over 2. And that's where you need to be, not today, of course. I mean, it takes a while to get to that point. But eventually, you need to get there, where you envision that triangle. You see the 60 degrees. What if I said cosine of 60? Without looking at that picture right there. If I said cosine of 60, you're thinking, okay, steep triangle, right? Cosine is the one on the bottom. That's the short side now on a steep triangle, right? It's the short side is a half, so the cosine of 60 is a half. I think that's an easy way to do it, don't you? Look at the tangent of 60. The tangent of 60, we have to do a little bit of work on this, okay? It is, but let's figure out how it is. It's really not that hard. It's y over, that's supposed to be a y right there. Just wait until I finish my thought. It's y over x. So y is the square root of 3 over 2 over x, which is a half. Let's do the same thing we did before. We're going to change it from division to multiplication, multiplied by the reciprocal. Okay, watch how much easier this one is. That just cancels out, and there it is. It's the square root of 3. So the tangent of 60 is the square root of 3. Let me write these down. Let's do the tangents. Sometimes they're the hardest ones to remember. But I'll give you, it's not really a trick at all. Yeah, we did the 30 in the first lesson. So watch, the tangent of 30 we said was the square root of 3 over 3. We just did the tangent of 60, and what was that? Just the square root of 3. So these are things that you need to memorize, all right? No. Yes, they are. 1 over square, yes, they are reciprocals. But they don't look like reciprocals in this form, but technically they are, right? Because this is 1 over the square root of 3. But just let me finish this thought, then I promise I'll come back to you. Look at this thing right here. The square root of 3 over 3, all right, and the square root of 3. If you divide any number larger than 1 anyway by 3, you're going to make it smaller, aren't you? So you know this is a smaller value than this number right here, just because it's being divided by 3. So look, the smaller number goes with which one? The smaller angle. The bigger value, right, the square root of 3 goes, are you guys watching? You're not paying attention. I'm giving you good stuff here. So watch. Well, look up. So look, this right here is the larger value, and it goes with 60 degrees. See it? The smaller number goes with 30. The larger number goes with 60. Everybody got that? Okay, that's something that needs to be memorized. These numbers need to be memorized. Okay, square root of 3 over 2. Once you learn how to do one of them, the rest of them aren't that hard at all. Okay, here we go. We're going to do 45 degrees this time. And I'm going to go a little quicker because I need to finish the 45 within this video. Can't remember how many I did. I think I did 3 of them in the first class, so I still have another video to go. All right, so 45. Of course, you know that's 45 up here. The hypotenuse is 1. Do you remember what this was? We talked about it's square root of 2 over 2. Good. Do I need to go through the whole process? We talked about it at some point before. Let's not go through it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, because the sine is the cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, right? And so if I wanted to find this, I would divide by the square root of 2 instead of multiply by the square root of 2. So 1 divided by the square root of 2 is the same thing as this. These are numbers, again, like those other ones, you should have some of these memorized. Okay? Square root of 3 over 2 should be something that's memorized. What if I said square root of 3 over 2, what are you thinking? You're thinking, okay, if it's a side of what kind of a triangle? 30, 60, 90. And which side is it? It's the longer side, okay? If I said a half, what does that mean to you? That means it's the short side of a 30, 60, 90. Now, what if I said square root of 2 over 2? What is that? It's one of the legs. There's no shorter or longer, okay? We're not comparing it to the hypotenuse. We're just talking about the legs themselves, okay? There's no shorter or longer. They're both the same because it's 45, 45, 90. So when I say square root of 2 over 2, automatically you're thinking, oh, that's one of the sides of a 45, 45, 90 triangle, okay? So those, I don't think it's out of the range of possibility for you to memorize this stuff, and you really should, okay? It really is. And once you get used to those numbers and see them all the time, it really is. Yeah. Now, with that all said, this stuff all follows. We did this quadrantals. We did this with a 30. We did it with a 60. Now we're doing it with a 45. So it should make sense now, shouldn't it? So what is that point right there? It's the square root of 2 over 2. Same thing with this one. What's the cosine of 45 degrees? What's the sine of 45 degrees? What's the tangent of 45 degrees? Which is 1, right? Because look, it's y over x, isn't it? It's y over x. It's sine over cosine. It's something divided by itself. What's anything divided by itself? 1. It's 1. So the tangent of 45 is 1. That's a nice, easy one to remember, okay? It's less than 2 minutes. Let's try it. All right, now watch this. I'm gonna draw a line. And I tell you what, before I do, let's do this. What if I asked you what the cosine of 150 degrees is? Now I'm in a different quadrant, aren't I? Yeah. All right. So let's try to figure out where that's going to be. Now I'm not going to make this exact. We're just actually tell you what. It's going to be a second quadrant. All right. Ready? Now this looks a little bit better. Let's do 150. Well, where's 150? It's about, that's close enough, okay? But what did I just find? Remember we did the thing about the reference angles? That's why we learned that stuff, is so we could do this thing right now. So 150 degrees is actually that angle right there. But really, I'm not using that. What am I using? I'm using this one right here, the reference angle. How many degrees would that be? You said it already. And then we can take our triangle and we can drop it down. Again, this stuff you should be able to do in your head. All right? So let's do this real quick. What's the cosine? I'm not going to write it down. What's the cosine of 150 then? It's the square root of 3 over 2, because that's the longer side. But look what it's doing. It's going good. It's going to the left, so it's negative. What's the sine of 150? It's not negative, because it's going up. So that in the second quadrant, that would be 1/2. What's the tangent? The tangent is 30. So what is it? It's the square root of 3 over 3, but it's negative square root of 3 over 3. So now you should be able to do that within any of the quadrants that we see here. Does that make sense? All right. All right, well, that's it. All right, there's your assignment right there. It's page 852, 20 to 25, and that's it.